All right, so I know this is a very normal situation that's happened to everybody. You've been filming your YouTube video, you get it all done, you get the install video done, and then you put the SD card down, and then like, I don't know, an hour later you walk in and your son's like, look, I made a flag. And his flag consists of him super gluing that SD card to a glasses cleaning cloth, and then all your footage is borked. I'm sure that's normal. Anyways, that's why I'm gonna be recording this video after I've already installed this winch, but yeah, that's the reasoning. I got some footage off of the SD card, but man, the little bugger freaking filled the whole thing with super glue. So scraped some stuff off. It was a bad time. Anyways, let's just jump into it. Okay, this is a awesome bumper that I got for $100. It holds a winch, does everything. If you want one, you can go to, well, nowhere, because Ghillie Fab's out of business. But we picked this up from R1 Industries. They, I guess, got a lot of Ghillie Fab's old stock. But anyways, I picked up a sweet winch bumper for $100. The winch itself, though, let's talk about that. This is a SuperATV Black Ops 4,500 pound winch. It's in this winch bumper and wired in, you know, all correctly to the machine and everything. But it was, installing it in the bumper was actually the hardest part. The wiring and the instructions and all of that was actually very simple. Okay, so this is a turboR, Polaris Rzr turboR. It's actually an R4, but it'll be the same up front no matter what you do. This is the winch with the positive and the negative leads on the winch drum itself. And this is where we routed the leads to basically minimize the amount of abrasion that happens with them and get them into the cab to feed the relay. So we came up right here underneath the radiator, as you can see, fed that right in front of the sway bar link, up over the top of that radiator support brace, and then we zip tied these leads right here to this front support. And when I say we, I mean me, because I did it by myself. Okay, so that then gives these leads a good run up to go in through this firewall grommet. You can just punch those through right there. And then you can see right here, this is where the actual winch relay servo box is installed on the other side of the firewall. So let's hop around there and take a look at that. So in here under the firewall, in the front of the passenger side kick panel, we have this little piece here. I'm not really sure what it's for, but long story short, they only give you these tiny little screws to hold this whole servo box on, and relay box on, and it's actually pretty heavy. So what I did was I positioned this so that it's resting on these plastic pins, as well as being held through the firewall right there. We took the positive and negative lead from the barrel through this grommet, and we tied them in obviously to their respective spots. There's a good mapping on this side and in the instructions of which leads go where. So we got those hooked up, and we got everything from those kind of angled away so they don't actually touch the other studs and things up there that you need. That takes us to our hot and our ground feed from the battery. They are not this big bundle of wires. One thing about the SuperATV kit, it comes with small crimp-on lug ends that you can cut these wires to length, put the lug end on the wire, crimp it on, reheat shrink it, and then you don't have a bunch of excess copper just kicking around underneath your kick panel. But anyways, this is where I decided to mount the relay. I was going to originally maybe put it under the seat here, but I decided against that. I decided it's good enough where it is. If you have a sub, you might not, or a speaker in here, you might not be able to get to it up here. You might have to put this down over here. Either way, on this front firewall is fine. So let's go look at how we wired these, or routed these wires back to the battery, because a winch should be wired directly to the battery and not to any of these hot lugs or anything up there. Let's go jump over. Okay, as you can see here, we have the hot feed from the battery to that servo, or to that relay right here, and we have the ground as well right under here. These wires, this would be easier to see if I had the seat out, but I've already taken the seat out once and I'm not going to do it again. That positive and that negative feed up here, through where your seatbelt alarm passes into the tunnel. And then from there, those run inside this tunnel all the way up to where they come up here and feed back over to that relay that we've originally saw. The easiest way to get that ran through is to take and undo all of these bolts. You'll undo this one, this one, this one, this one here, and this one right here as well. Once you've got those undone, you actually also have to come back up here and undo this plastic push pin. And after you've undone that push pin and all those bolts, this plastic will pull far enough away that if you have your full set of leads up here, you can snake them down underneath this and just kind of feed them up in all the way along until you come out right here. And then again, you can bring these over here, trim them to length, put those extra lug brackets on, and hook them up to the battery. One thing I will note about doing it that way, sliding them up underneath this panel, is that this storage compartment in here, let's go look at the other side and I'll show you what the issue is. Okay, you see this seam right here? When you pull that panel away that way, this seam opens up, and if you feed those leads underneath this and then pull them tight, they will actually jump up through this seam into this storage box, and then you'll end up with them rubbing or cutting right here, and you'll need to make sure that you leave enough slack and push them down far enough that they don't end up in this storage box and they end up actually in the tunnel underneath this all the way back. Once you've got that done, you have your switch for your controller for your wireless switch and your rocker switch in the dash. All you have to do is punch out one of these plates on the back side. You can see right here, you can reach around and literally just push it out. I put mine in right here, and then you push that harness through, do that up, and then the only last wiring connection you have to hook up is this. This little wire is the trigger wire that turns this whole thing on so that you can have the winch when you need it and don't have it when the car is off. This needs to be hooked into the center lug on one of the pulse bars, or just anywhere that has a keyed hot. And then after that, all you have to do is bundle up your extra cable here. And realistically, that's it. Okay, I can't speak to how the winch itself is going to be installed because every single one is going to be different based on what winch bumper you get. From what I have heard, the Polaris ones are just super easy setup. This one honestly was kind of a pain. I had to do some trimming, drilling, clearancing some stuff to make it work, but other than that, I like it. Looks real nice. It all worked out. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we will catch you on the next one.